First off, thank you, man, for coming back on the show for part two. We made a video just the other day. I think it was 2 days ago or a day ago. That thing's got what? How many damn views that thing has now?
It's up there.
I think
past 60,000 last time I seen it.
Past 60,000. Damn.
Yeah, it's up there.
Hey, look, people love it, man. You know, they can, and a lot of people, you know, I guess have been through the situation you're talking about in the JIT camp. And I've actually interviewed someone else that was from Florida, and he speaks highly about this JIT camp being the gladiator school and all that. So everything's backing up, you know, what you said, which is excellent. I love to hear nothing but realness, man, and so does everyone else. And I'm guessing that's why it's jumping into views like it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so we ended the last one. For those of y'all who don't know, he was talking about going to prison at 18 years old, and went to this prison place called JIT camp, and it's buck wild up there, man. You've seen some crazy stuff, and you know, you ended the last video with something about broomsticks, and I'll tell you why I've been thinking about that. I'm gonna let you start off wherever you want to go, man. And that's another thing. That's what I like about you, man. I mean, your story just flows, you know. And when you got something to tell, when you have a story, it can just flow like that, nonstop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You really get caught up in it, and everything comes out. And
Bro, it's funny. I was working at a smoke shop up here in Boston, and I worked there for a little bit, and it was one of the first jobs that they didn't mind the whole prison background. They didn't mind the tattoos. I mean, it's right next to the project, so it's like a kind of rough area, kind of not, but I fit in. I used to tell these stories to a lot of customers. It would start off with them asking about my tattoos, and I'd be blunt, like, yeah, this one was in prison, da-da-da. We start talking about it, and I start telling these stories, and, you know, out of nowhere, I realized we've been in the store, you know, an hour past when I'm supposed to close, still talking, and a lot of people used to boost me up on it. A lot of people used to, you know, tell me it's a good story. I should, you know, put it out there. I never really
you
knew,
should, hey,
you know what I mean?
You should just crank up a damn YouTube, man.
That's what, bro. Hey, I want to shout out everybody that took the time to listen to everything, and everybody that reached out to me. A lot of support. It blew my mind, bro. I was getting people hitting me up from Australia, New Zealand, Germany, all over the place, showing mad love, mad respect.
Hey, it's wild, isn't it?
Shout out to you for having me on here, because obviously none of this would have happened without that. But I mean, that was just it was amazing, bro, especially turning something that's so dark into something so light. You know what I mean? Like, making something good out of it.
Yeah, and now you kind of get a feeling of how I feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy because it was something so bad, but I'm actually reaping a good harvest from it. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? It's kind of mind-blowing, but at the same time, it transforms you too, because it gives you something, you know, other than doing what the normal thing is, street life and stuff. And that's why I always tell people, man, start a YouTube. You know what I mean? Tell your story, man, and just get out there, and it'll keep you out of trouble. You know, idle hands, man. When you got a lot of time on your hands, you end up doing stupid stuff. Hey, get out there and tell your story, man. You never know what could happen. Someone could love it like this, you know. I never in a million years, I thought maybe it'd get 20, 30,000, the normal, you know, basic ratio of views. Yeah. But look, it's booming. You never know who people will tend to, you know, flock to, man, regardless if they're real or, because there's a lot of real cats has been through it, and they've went on to YouTube or other platforms and told their story, and they amounted to nothing. You know what I mean? So there's a certain charisma about you, man, that people like as well, I think. And hey, you should definitely look into it, man. If you do happen to try to start a YouTube, hey, I'm here for you, man. I'll help you out any best way that I can. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, your story's amazing, man. Everybody loves to hear great stories, a great comeback story, especially from the penitentiary, man. Especially a place like that where you've seen some crazy stuff, man. But
yeah. And I mean, like, with that being said about the crazy stuff, the stuff that I'm going to get into, I'm gonna say it and explain it as, you know, appropriate as I can. That's the best try to formulate my words when it comes to this, because I don't want to be too graphic. I don't want to have to say things that's a little bit too extreme, but I do want to tell everybody what's what. And everybody's been asking me about these damn broomsticks. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's put it like this: the last video that you did with me. That's how you spoke. That's pretty much the best way to speak, man. You know, to be honest, to hit all groups of people, to hit all age groups at that. You know what I mean? You did good, man, and you should kind of format your style just the way you did on that first video with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, let's hear it, man. I'll let you start off wherever. I don't know where. You know, I remember the broomsticks is the ending, but hey, if you want to start off from a different period, it's all good.
We can jump right into that. So my first time hearing about it was in county, and then we go back to Sumter CI. Right before I went to Sumter CI, hang
on 1 second. So the broomsticks was actually being told in county that's something that you really need to look out for.
Yeah, this is a horror story.
Oh, so it's like a big myth or legend type thing in county?
Bro, it's all over the news. It's bad. It's like,
for real?
It's something big. Yeah, it's all over the news. So that's the thing about this specific thing that I'm talking about without giving too much detail. Someone from my way, who I was actually in county jail with, wasn't a big kid, didn't have weight on him, you know what I mean? But then again, that doesn't even matter. When you find yourself in a situation like this, the only reason it doesn't happen to you is because you were blessed. That's it. Because when something like this presents itself, I don't care who you are, how tough you think you are, what you think you're on, there's no stopping it. It's going to happen. What you do after that is the only thing that really matters. So push come to shove, this kid hit Sumter CI, 18 years old. I think he might have been 17 years old at the time. In every bathroom, Sumter CI has open bay dormitories, so it's just bunk beds in there. You know what I mean? And Sumter had cameras, so you got 2 cameras in the dorm. It kind of just, they had blind spots, but the bathroom, there's obviously no camera. Inside every prison bathroom where I was at, there's a mop closet inside of the bathroom. Now, this mop closet needs to be opened up by a CO. 99% of these things that have happened, COs let it happen. So well-known thing. COs are not on your side. They used to play games with us. They would take a pillowcase and take everybody's ID, take 2 IDs out of the pillowcase. Y'all 2 got to fight in the mop closet. They used to play a lot of dirty games, especially on the weekends. They'd make us fight. They'd bet on us fighting. They'd let us fight. If you wanted to fight me and you know what I mean, you had a little bit of respect, you asked the CO, he let us get in there. Now, that used to solve problems at the same time. You know, we used to be able to figure things out on our own, but sometimes it will go too far, like in this case. So basically what happened to him and what happens to a lot of people is they tell you, you know, it's time for your TOH. You've already heard about it. You're prepped for it. You're mentally, you know what I mean? You're ready to go.
Yeah, test of heart. Is that what you said?
Yeah, test of heart.
And okay, he spoke about that in first episode, if y'all want to run that back.
And you might go in there thinking that you're going to fight. You might go in there thinking you're going to get jumped. Basically what happened to this kid is he went in there and a group of people got him on the floor and they put a broomstick up his, you know what I mean? And what they used to do, bro, is when you get TOH'd, sometimes they'll TOH you and respect you after the fact.
Oh, they degraded him.
What they did to him is they didn't want him in the dorm. So when you get TOH'd by your own people, they're not going to do anything crazy like that. They might beat you down a little bit, but they're going to build you back up right after. They're going to take care of you, patch you up, give you food, clothes, whatever you need, you're good, and they're going to let you know you're good. If you get TOH'd by your enemies and you don't break it off, they don't want you in the dorm anymore.
Okay, so is the TOH thing something that just people that are affiliated go through or what?
Nah, this is everybody.
Okay.
This is everybody. I mean, bro, not everybody even makes it to the TOH stage. Some people walk in, get slapped in the face, and they give up. And they're like, yo, you can take whatever you want from me, and that's what it is. And then you got some instances like in mine, they weren't even trying to TOH me. They were just trying to hit me up and get me out of there. I'm not going for that. TOH me for what? I'm just, you know what I mean? Because if I get the opportunity, I'm just going to hit one of y'all. I'm not putting myself in a position where something like that can happen, and thank God it never did. But I still ended up getting TOH'd a couple of times. So sometimes you just can't avoid it.
Yeah.
So they got Buddy in the bathroom, and what happened was they used to take the broomsticks and the mop sticks and scrape them off the concrete on the floor, so that the very end of it, you know how it's normally smooth wood, it would be splintered. So when it goes inside of your body, it's doing so much damage, you can't come back off of that. So basically the kid was in the shower, he wouldn't stop bleeding. And he ended up having to, you know, tell the CO, Florida has PREA, the Prison Rape Elimination Act.
And this whole thing was on the news?
This was a federal lawsuit. So this kid ended up getting paid for this. Like, it was.
He lived.
Yeah, he lived. Most of them lived. I don't really know if any of them died, not that I heard of, but this specific kid, he lived, and the damage is still there, bro. Like, I don't. That must have messed his head up, but you know what I mean?
Had to have, man.
It's once the feds or the news come in, all the COs start acting nice. You know what I mean? Everybody starts getting beat up.
Yeah. Over here in Virginia, when the Department of Corrections, like, staff come in to do the reviews of the prison, they clean everything up, make it all spotless. COs looking sharp. The ones that be sagging their pants, they got their pants pulled up.
They're not acting like gangsters anymore. You might get an extra cookie on your tray. You never know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a little bit different, but
that's funny, man.
That happened to that kid, and you know there was another kid that happened to. This was at Lake Butler. So this is the North Florida Reception Center. It's a messed up spot. This was where I got cut at. This is where Bounce Bad B did some of his time at. Shout out to him. Someone in the comments was like, "Oh, this kid's lying. You only get 60 days for doing this." No, but you do that to somebody, it's these bills. If you do something that's going to cost the state money, they're going to come for you. That's when they're going to give you charges. You just cut someone, they got to get some stitches, or they get their face hot glued back together. It ain't really a big deal. And as messed up as it is, that's the honest truth about it. You know what I mean?
But it makes sense. It makes sense. You know what I mean?
But jumping back into the story from part 2, after everything happened with when I cut the kid in confinement.
Oh, you mean part 1?
Yeah, part 1. My bad. I got out of confinement, and when you get out of confinement at Sumter, there's a dorm that you have to go to where it's like you're not all the way in the clear yet. You still can't hit canteen because you just got punished. You got to do a little bit of time in this dorm first. So I get moved into this dorm. The second I walk in there, I see the same kid that was saying that he was a 13, but he folded his flag and the fake blood brought him home. I see him. All of a sudden now he's a Crip. Full-blown Crip. I'm like, how, bro? You went from a 13 to a fake blood, and now he's a Crip. Mind you, I just cut a Crip in confinement. So I'm like, all right, I know that there's going to be a problem in here. So I put my stuff down on the bunk, and I immediately called into the bathroom. I didn't make my bed. I didn't do none of that. The CO was still outside putting people into the dorm. You know what I mean? Telling people what bunk to go to. So no one's in the dorm with us. We go into the bathroom, and everybody makes a big scene. Everybody starts running to the bathroom. We don't end up doing nothing. We go to chow. We come back. We fight. I didn't lose to this kid. This kid wasn't, like I said, I folded him in the beginning. He just completely folded his flag. Yeah. This time he actually stood up for himself a little bit because there was a bunch of GDs in the dorm. So the gangster disciples and the Crips were tied flags. You know what I mean? So they kind of made him fight. He didn't put on whatsoever for the Crips. He didn't put on for the GDs at all. What ended up happening was the next day I went to school. When I come back from, because it's mandatory that you have to go to school. When I come back from school, I get cuffed up ASAP. So I'm asking the CO, why am I getting cuffed up right now? Come to find out, there was a GD in the dorm who was supposed to be the head GD in that dorm specifically, not on the compound. And one of my brothers was going to fight him. in the dorm. So I wasn't the only blood this time. There was like one other one and then one cutthroat. But the GD had like just came here or whatever, and he got his finger shot off right before he came to prison. So he was trying to use the excuse, oh, I can't fight because of my finger. Why do you need a finger to fight? You know what I mean? Just close your hands. But he wouldn't fight or whatever. So the CO, he cuffs me up, and I'm asking him, why am I getting cuffed up? Brings me into a room. All the COs are running up in my face, whatever. They made me strip down, butt naked. I got 4 grown men looking at me. I'm butt naked. You know what I mean? So I'm starting to talk at this point, like, y'all want to see me like this? Like, what is y'all intentions with this? And he tells me they found gang knowledge in my bunk. I'm like, gang knowledge? What gang? He said, oh, you're a GD. I said, I'm a GD. Have you not, you know what I mean? You don't see these tattoos? You haven't checked my gang profile? I'm a GD now. So I end up finding out of the CO's mouth, tells me that the kid that's missing his finger from getting shot came and told him that I got gang knowledge in my bunk. Basically what they did is they set me up. He wrote some fake stuff, put it in my bunk, and got me up out of there because he was scary as hell. And the CO literally told me that he did this. They put me under investigation and confinement. So I couldn't come out. At that point, I turned 19 in confinement, and this is when I got shipped to Lancaster. So when you get shipped, you have to go back to your main reception center. So I went back to Central Florida Reception Center. The COs already knew me. One of the COs was a Latin King. The other CO was NPR. So I was good, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna say too much, but K2 was flooded in there, weed was flooded in there, and we were enjoying ourselves in CFRC. We were vibing out because everyone in there is new, so there's nothing really going on. I get sent to Lake Butler. When I hit Lake Butler, it's a whole nother world. So when I was in Sumter, I kind of skipped over this part. When I was in Sumter doing the original 60 days in confinement, I went psych in confinement. So what we were, oh no, I think this is, matter of fact, this was when I was under investigation. My bad. This wasn't when I was doing the original 60 days. This is when I was under investigation. So a couple of my boys were telling me, if you go psych, you might get sent to Lake City. You would go down to Miami first, which is where they have the mental health facility. Then you get sent to Lake City. Lake City is a youth offender prison, but it's a private camp. You get Walmart canteen.
Yeah, you get good stuff.
You get the whole jar of peanut butter. They got a dog program where you can train a dog in your cell with you. Super, super nice. You never go outside. The whole facility's indoors and everything, AC. We didn't have none of that. So 2 of my boys go psych. One of them actually tried to kill himself. He swears to God that he didn't, but he had 15 years mandatory. His own mother turned him in for the reward money. He didn't have anybody riding with him. He was going through a lot. And what he did is when they took him out of confinement to take a shower, he tried to jump off the tier. The CO, by the grace of God, grabbed him by the ankle and saved him. Otherwise, you know, if he had hit the floor, he would have snapped his neck, whatever. He swears he wasn't trying to kill himself. I don't believe it, bro, because I know damn well I wouldn't have did that. My other partner from Tampa, he NPR, he's headbutting his window in his cell. So the COs do their round, he's headbutting the window, bam, bam, bam. So I can see his cell from across from mine, and I just see him blasting it. The COs open his flap, they cuff him up, they take him down to medical. I had a razor in the cell with me. I always had razors. I always found a way to get a razor. So what I did is I took the razor and I cut myself with the razor. And I didn't like I didn't do nothing crazy. I'm literally nicking it, just, you know, forming a long line, just nicking and then pinching my skin so it bleeds a little bit. So what I did is I took the toilet paper and I wet it, I soaked it, and I covered up the windows and left only a little bit of the window open. I took a piece of paper and I wrote, I'm gonna kill myself. I wiped my blood all over it. I stuck it on the window. I laid down on my back and I'm just bicycle kicking the door down. Brrr. The COs come in and pop my flap. I'm thinking they're going to gas me, so I'm hiding up on the top bunk in the corner. I didn't even have a bunkie at this time. And the CO on that shift, he was a cool dude. He wasn't on that craziness. He didn't abuse his power. So he asked me, he's like, what's going on? You all right? I'm like, nah, I want to kill myself. I want to kill myself. So he cuffs me up. I go down to medical. And they take me down to medical. I'm sitting next to my boy. He got 3 knots on his forehead from headbutting the damn door. So we're chilling in medical. Mind you, the medical nurse at Sumter CI, oh my God. I still remember to this day everything about her. She was the best. Okay. And her husband was actually from Boston too, so she liked me a little bit more because of that.
Oh shit!
While I'm talking to her, I'm butt naked in a little suicide skirt, handcuffed and everything. So it's not like I can, you know what I mean, do too much. But it is what it is. They put me in a psych cell, which is a pretty big size room. I got a suicide mat on the floor. They gave me the thickest blanket. The suicide mat, bro, is like the equivalent of a Tempur-Pedic. I don't know if you ever went psych, but this is the thickest, most comfortable mat. It's not like the ones that you normally get where you lay down, you can feel the metal under you. This is a nice mat. The blanket's super thick because you can't kill yourself with it. You can't take string off of it. And they gave me a turtle suit, which is like the green full body suit. I took that off. That was my pillow. So I'm butt naked the whole 21 days in this. Like, I'm really trying to pull this whole psych thing. You're only supposed to go psych for, I think, like 5 days or 7 days before it's mandatory that they ship you. I was in there for 21 days in that psych cell. The whole state of Florida, the psych units were basically on lockdown because they were overpopulated. They couldn't accept any more people, so no one could go. So I wasted my time doing this whole thing. I never got sent anywhere. I just sat in the psych cell 21 days and just really got to know myself. I would be in there catching flies.
Butt naked.
Butt ass naked. Now, I didn't know you could knock out flies. Anybody at home can try this out if you got something flying around. I'm slapping the flies in my room just to kill time. They'd hit the floor. I wouldn't squish them. All of a sudden, they get back up in a few minutes and start flying around again. This is my daily routine.
Oh.
The food they used to serve you, it would come in a Tupperware container. They wouldn't give you a spork or nothing like that. So you would have to rip off a corner of the Tupperware container and use it to scoop up your food, and otherwise just eat with your hands. You weren't allowed to be given too much toilet paper. If you were given toilet paper, they pretty much watch you use the bathroom. It was a mess, but I mean, when you go to prison, bro, all that using the bathroom and being seen naked, you're not worried about that anymore because you get over that real quick.
There's much worse things to worry about than that.
Yeah, and the captain that worked at Sumter CI was gorgeous too, and she checks up on you every day. So it had its perks, but at the same time, I feel like I lost a couple brain cells doing 21 days in psych. So from psych, I get shipped. I went back to regular confinement, and then I get shipped. Because I was under investigation, the second I hit Lake Butler, I was out of confinement. I didn't have to be in confinement anymore because I was only in there under investigation for the fake gang paraphernalia that was recovered. When I hit Lake Butler, they put me in I block. So I block is where the youth offenders go inside of Lake Butler. While I was in confinement at Sumter, when I was out before confinement, they give you boots and they give you Crocs. So the little rubber Crocs, that's our main shoe. That's the main thing you get. You can get the slides on Canteen, and you get boots when you get assigned a job. I forget how I got my boots. I think like someone gave me their boots or I bought them or something. They're Raggedy State boots. But the boots were like a size 9, and it was mandatory that I wore them. In sneakers, I'm an 11 and a half, 12, depending on the shoe. You know what I mean? So what ended up happening is both of my toenails on my big toes got pressed in and became ingrown.
Yeah.
By the time I hit Lake Butler, they refused me medical treatment at Sumter because I had turned 19 and was being shipped. And Lake Butler is the medical unit. So if you get your jaw broke or something, they send you to Lake Butler and you get it wired up. So they were like, you're you're most likely going to have to go through here. I can't tell you for security reasons where you're getting shipped to, but, you know, we're not going to do nothing here, basically. By the time I got to Lake Butler,
I know those toes were hurting, bro.
they were so infected. It was bleeding every day, pussing. It was nasty, bro. I couldn't put socks on. Any contact with either one of my toes, it was just excruciating pain. I couldn't walk, so I had to really walk on my heels. You know what I mean? I hit Lake Butler. Lake Butler is the most evil place I've ever been to. It's the most evil people I've ever met. Out of all the people I've met in prison that did time on death row and then ended up just getting life sentences, killed mad people, will tell you who they killed, how they killed them. The people at Lake Butler, the employees there, were the most evil people that I've ever seen. They had no heart. They had no sympathy at all. So I get to Lake Butler. I complained to one of the nurses because we got to go through the whole orientation again. You know what I mean? We got to strip down. We got to get razors. We got to shave. We got to take a shower all together. And I complained to one of the COs, could I speak to a nurse? So she snapped on me. And while I'm in my boxes, because you're in your boxes for like 2 hours, you know what I mean? While I'm in my boxes, I got to crouch down on the floor and scrape the tiles with an old dirty toothbrush. And they made me and then 2 other kids got caught talking. They just make you scrape the floor with a toothbrush. And we did this for, you know, like 30, 40 minutes. My legs are screaming. My toes, you know what I mean? I'm in a lot of pain doing this. I'm putting pressure on my feet. So finally, the sergeant comes and he's like, you know, who's complaining about whatever. And I'm like, yes, sir. I don't want to say nothing, but now he's here, so I got to say something. So he's like, what's the problem? And I showed him my feet. And he looks, he's like, what's the problem? I'm like, sir, they're bleeding, they're infected. I can barely walk. He said, yeah, go tell her. So he points to this old lady that's a nurse. So I walk up to her and I tell her. She looks down at my feet. She looks up at me. She laughs. She tells the other nurse to look at me. The other nurse laughs and she tells me to go F myself. Refused me treatment completely. And I was just so like,
that's crazy, man. I would have snapped, bro.
The thing is, a lot of people, not that I'm saying you wouldn't, but had you have snapped, the repercussions of that, you might not have made it out of Lake Butler, bro. It was known, like Lake Butler used to have a graveyard where they would bury the inmates and put you, like your paperwork, you would be gone in the system. You wouldn't exist anymore. It's a real messed up place to be at. You know what I mean? And
so all the correctional officers up there were white dudes and white chicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was extreme. Like, it was bad, bro. And I get refused treatment. I gotta go to I block. I go to I block. I can barely walk. You know what I mean? I'm walking on my heels. I damn sure can't run. We still have to PT and everything. I can barely get in push-up position. My eyes are watering up. It's bad. All the inmates with me, like everyone that's with me, knows what's going on. You know what I mean? They know I'm messed up right now. So, you know, some people were being sympathetic and trying to like run in front of me, but run slow so the CO can't see me. More or less, they were trying to look out for me. And what ended up happening was when I hit I block, I go inside of I block and the GDs run up to me. It was like 10 GDs. So there's 2 different wings. The wing that I was on had all the GDs in it. The GDs run up. They're like, oh, what you is, da-da-da. I'm blood, what's up? They said, oh, we tied flags here. So I'm like, what? We're tied flags, bloods and GDs. I'm thinking to myself, if someone actually really made this happen and it's solidified, that's who I want to speak to. I don't want to speak to these little soldiers. I want to speak to the head. So who's running it? Oh, well, the head GD's in the other wing and the head blood's in the other wing, but you got a brother in here. So I'm like, all right, who's the blood in here? So they point to the back, you know, all the way down where the cells are, and I see somebody walk out. I'm blown when they tell me this. The same person that walks out is the same kid that brought home the fake 13. The fake blood from Sumter. So what happened to him was the Crips ran down on him at Sumter, and they fired him up with a brick in his face, and they broke his nose. So this kid's got a nose cast on. You know what I mean? Because this is the medical center. He got a nose cast, and now he's talking about he's blood again. So I put him on blast in front of everybody. I'm like, he ain't no blood. I'm the one that made him fold to begin with. So all the GDs are like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like everybody's like the pot stirring up. Mind you, my toes are messed up. This kid's face is messed up. So we locked down. The head blood from the other wing slides over this way because basically the GDs put word over there. He comes over, come to find out he's from Tampa. So I'm thinking to myself, you from Tampa, you a blood, this is going to check out perfectly, and we're going to get him up out of here talking about he's still a blood. So he runs up to my cell, and there's bars, you know what I mean, so we can talk clearly. He didn't say nothing about blood. He didn't say nothing about Tampa. He was more or less like, hey, you got a problem with so-and-so? You saying he ain't no blood? How he came off to me, I'm not going to be like, hold up, we from the same city, we the same. Nah, you came at me like you want something, so we're just going to take it from him. So I'm like, yeah, F him, blah, 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 this is what happened. He cut me off as I'm telling him how I folded him, and he's like, look, he blood. If you got a problem with that, and he turns to the cell block and he yells out, I got $50 on his head in canteen right now. So you just put a hit out on me in front of everybody. So I yell out, who gonna take the hit? Because I got a razor on me. The second you get here, you get a razor. And I know they're strapped up because they've been here. Nobody says nothing. So it was the next day. We went to chow, we showered, we came back, nothing happened. It was the next day, the very next day, when we're going to chow. The doors pop, I come out. There was someone with me from Sumter. He's a BD, a black disciple. Usually the GDs and the BDs, they're tied flags. He didn't like none of the GDs here. He thought they were all soft. We got cool because he was actually in the room with the head of NPR at Sumter, and they were close. So me and him got cool on the ride over. So dude told me, you know, the night before this happened, he's like, yo, I got your back. So I at least had one person that had my back, you know what I mean?
I bet you wouldn't expect it to have been him, huh?
Not him, and I respected him a whole lot more for doing this. And push come to shove, we was on the top tier in our block. We got to go down the stairs. So all the GDs, they all lining up behind me. There's no way I'm going to make it to the back of the line. They're not going to let me, more or less. And the fake blood is in the very back of the line. I'm naive. I've never been hit up at this point. You know what I mean? I've never been touched by nobody except fighting. So when we get to the stairs, mind you, I'm limping down the stairs. All of a sudden, I feel something just touch me. I don't feel pain. I don't feel anything. The only thing that I felt, because I block, it's like open. It has open cement walls with squares, so birds will fly in here. You know what I mean? When it's cold, it's cold. Rain can come in here. So you feel the wind as I'm going down the stairs, and I felt something touch me, and I felt air in a place I never felt it before. I could feel the wind inside my face. So I feel something touch me, and I turned back right after it happened, and I pulled the razor out that I had. And one person behind me is the fake blood, and he's looking like this as I turn around. So I pull out the razor and I step up one step. He takes off back up the steps, you know what I mean? And all the GDs are behind me, and they all put their hands up like, yo, we ain't had nothing to do, yo, we ain't doing nothing, because they're thinking I'm gonna hit one of them with the razor. I should have hit one of them with the razor just to do it. But more or less, I wanted to get the kid that just cut me. I didn't even really know I was cut until I got to the bottom of the stairs. I just knew someone did something. And the kid runs off, and we're still somewhat at the top of the stairs. So the second you turn that corner, you're at the CO's booth. You know what I mean? The COs are right there. So this kid ran up to where the COs are at. So I'm like, all right, bet. I get down the stairs, and there's a CO waiting. We got to put on our little red hats, you know what I mean? I can see the blood is pouring down my face. It's all over my shirt and everything. I'm leaking out. So as I turned the corner, I'm putting the hat on, and the CO didn't see my right side, so he didn't see the cut. I get out, and I go behind the pillar. Now I'm behind the pillar with the razor, waiting on this kid to come out, and I'm just going to tag him as soon as he comes out. You know what I mean? He comes out with the COs. So I'm like, bruh, like, you literally standing, talking, walking with the COs. He was next to the COs. You know what I mean? One CO stays back. He walks up the rest with the other CO. So I throw the razor, and I walk up in the line. There's no way I can get him. You know what I'm saying? I can't chase him because my toes are messed up. He's with the CO. I walk up in the line. I'm the last person in line. Finally, he walks up with the CO, and this kid stayed probably like 15 yards behind me. And, you know, I look back real quick, and I look at him, and he's looking away. You know what I mean? He ain't really looking at me. And I see the CO coming. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to be able to chase him. It ain't going to happen. I know even if I try to chase him, I'm not going to be able to chase him. I know that if I do something now, I'm snitching. If I try to do anything to him right now, I'm telling off rip. Because how does that look? I just got cut. I'm trying to chase this kid. So I took it to the chin, bro. There was nothing I could do. I'm not going to crash out. I'm not going to snitch. CO walks by me. He sees my shit squirting out everywhere. And he pulls me out of the line. He's like, what happened? I told him I fell down the stairs. I hit my face on the end of the stair. He pulls me out. They take me to medical. When they take me to medical, they bring me in, and there was a few people already in there that were kind of like messed up, not from getting hit up or nothing. But they just didn't have a nurse that was available to just immediately help me out. So they gave me a diaper, an old man diaper, because at Lake Butler, they have it's not even a set, like, it's not a dorm, bro. It's just like a room. There's probably like 20 beds, and it's all old people that are like, you know, 2 breaths away from dying. So they kind of walk me over there, and I get to see this room for everybody that's about to die. And they grab a diaper, and they put the diaper on my face, and they tell me to hold it down to stop the blood. So I'm sitting in the hallway at medical, and there's an orderly there. And, you know, he's like, yo, what happened, bro? And I took the diaper off, and I was like, I tripped and fell. He was like, yeah, I feel you, you know what I mean? And he was just telling me, like, yeah, if someone did that to me, bro, I'd have to kill him. He was in there for mad long. He had a lot of time. His job in medical was to bag up the bodies. And he basically told me, you know, he bagged like 1 to 2 bodies per day. And I'm asking him, I'm like, it doesn't bother you? And he's telling me, like, yo, it did at first, but I'm past it now. And finally, they bring me into medical. You know, the nurse, she takes me over to the little hospital bed or whatever. And she's checking out my face. And I'm more or less worried about if the tattoo is okay. You know what I mean? Like, is it all right? Did he get it? And I don't know if you can see it, but it went down the side of the
lightly. Yeah, I see it.
So the scar's only deep like that much, but the actual cut, they have to measure every laceration. They have to take a picture of it. I actually have the picture on my Instagram, and you can see the full cut. So the full cut was 7 inches. It went from here, went all the way down, it skipped, and then it hit my neck.
That's crazy.
He missed the tattoo, thank God. I paid only like $40 for it, but nobody wants a messed up tattoo on their face. That's the worst. And I didn't need stitches. They hot glued my face together. So they basically just squeeze it together. They hit you with a hot glue gun. And I'm sitting in there. I'm sitting in the medical station. And this I'll never forget. This is something that's always going to stick with me. There was a guy next to me who was breathing on an oxygen tank. He's probably 70 years old. And he's giving me the whole story about why I should never smoke. You know what I mean? Like, this dude's messed up looking, can barely breathe.
He smoked cigarettes?
Yeah, he was smoking cigarettes. And he's basically going to die in prison. You know what I mean? He's never getting out, and he's just telling me, like, you're a young kid, don't smoke. I was 19. I just turned 19. So when I'm sitting over in the chairs, I'm not on the hospital bed anymore. They wheel in this old guy in a wheelchair. The nurses walk up to him and they ask him, they ask him, how do you feel? He said, lonely. And that hit me hard as hell when he said that. I guess he had dementia or something like that. He's a very, very, very old man, probably like 80s, maybe even 90s, bro.
Sad, man.
Been in there since like the 70s. Like, he's just, his whole life is in there. And they said, how you feel? He said, lonely. And the nurse pointed it out to me. She's like, did you hear that? I'm like, yeah, I heard that. She's like, you don't want to be in here. How much time do you have? And I told her I got 3 years. She said, when you get out, remember this, because he's going to die in here. And this could be you in the future. And that hit me hard as hell. You know what I mean? I'm literally looking at what life can become.
Yeah.
And it's sad because the nurses in there, they don't care. The nurse he was talking to wasn't my nurse. She's like, no, not that. How do you feel? Do you feel sick? Do you feel, you know, she just blew it off, but it stuck with me. So the captain comes in. He's like, what happened? I tell him I fell down the stairs. He's like, you know, stop bullshitting me. What happened? I'm like, sir, I fell down the stairs, sir. He's like, you want to go back to the dorm? I was like, yes, sir. I'm excited, bro. My tail's wagging right now. I'm thinking I'm going to go back to the dorm first quarter. I'm cutting this kid the second I get in there. You know what I mean? Got this big thing on my face now. No, they weren't having it. They put me under investigation. Before they did that, they took me to the captain's office, which was inside of confinement. They take me in there. The officers sit me down. I got an officer on this side, an officer on this side. I got the captain sitting at the desk. I'm not going to say what he said out of respect for everybody that, you know, tunes in and watches. It was the most racist things I've ever heard in my life. And it just...
Was he white dude?
All of them were white.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
I didn't see one black CO at Lake Butler.
Okay.
At all. And even if there was one at Lake Butler, he's probably on the same thing that they're on. You know what I mean? It's everybody gets in tune with it. And what happened is, you know, he was like, who did it? I'm like, sir, I fell down the stairs. We were getting rushed by the CO. He was yelling at us to hurry up. I slipped. My toes are messed up. So he's like, oh, your toes are messed up. What's wrong with your toes? And, you know, we got white socks. Mine got blood stains through each sock. You can clearly see it. So he starts saying some real racist things. He's like, oh, you like sticking up for them, you know, saying whatever. And I'm like, sir, I'm not sticking up for nobody. I slipped. I fell. And he's just like, you think I'm stupid? You think I'm stupid, son? Like that real country accent. The officers grab me. One grabs me by the back of my neck, and they both start stomping on my toes. Both of
Damn!
Just stomping on my feet and holding me in the chair.
What the hell, man?
Stomping on me. The blood stains just keep getting bigger and bigger. I had like a sack from the infection that popped, blood all in my socks. He told me the only reason that they're not beating me right now is because they don't want to have to make the nurses re-glue my face together. So they stomp out my feet. I don't say nothing, period. They take me to confinement. They put me under investigation once again. So this is what I was saying is, if you want to check PC, you can check PC, but you have to sign that paper. They didn't offer me PC because I wasn't asking for PC. I fell down some stairs. So they take me to confinement. Because I didn't tell, they didn't change my clothes. They didn't let me shower. They didn't let me get anything. So my whole shirt is covered in blood. One big blood stain. All I smell is metal. It smells like iron. You know what I mean? That much blood. And it's just, it's still sticky. My socks are completely, I can't even take them off. They're like attached to my skin now because it's an open wound. And once the cloth touches it, when you pull, it's like pulling a Band-Aid off. So they put me in here, and I'm sitting in confinement for like 4 or 5 days. You know what I mean? And I never got a roommate, nothing like that.
You know who I would have gotten?
Who's that?
I would have gotten that damn OG, bro. You know what I mean? The head blood dude that's pretty much put you under the bus, man, and let that clown keep on doing what he's doing. Look, I want to ask you this, man. How the hell did you feel when you felt? Did you feel betrayed when homeboy pretty much let that stuff fly?
I mean, to be honest, when I sat down and thought about everything, I feel like everything happened for a reason. You know, I tell people, and I hope that the people that watch this don't take this the wrong way. I tell people that prison is the best thing that happened to me. And the reason I say that is because I didn't come from a structured family, a structured environment. I didn't learn from my father how to be a man. And he was out of my life, you know, after 12 years old. I learned a lot of things in prison. One of them is don't take anyone for granted. You know what I mean? Don't look past someone. I'm thinking this kid's nose got broke. He's soft. He's not going to do nothing. And then, boom, I get cut by the same kid. You know what I mean? I'm thinking about karma coming back and hitting me. I wasn't worried about that kid from Tampa because I knew I'd never run into him again. We got so many prisons. The chances of us running into each other are so slim. And I didn't even know who he was. I didn't get his name. I probably did get his name, but I forgot it. I heard he was from West Tampa. I didn't really get along with West Tampa anyways until one of my boys moved over to West Tampa and I started being around West Tampa a little bit more. But we used to beat them up in high school. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? But I'm alive. I'm breathing. Yeah, I wanted to get them back. I wanted to get them all back. Everybody back. Really who I wanted to get, though, was them COs.
Yeah, that's treacherous, man. But you know, just as well as I do, man, you know.
It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna work out.
It ain't, but I'll tell you what, that's probably some of the most vicious stories I've heard of abuse from the
system. Yeah, it was
I've seen some stuff, man, but I've had ingrown toenails. And I know that shit hurts, bro.
Yeah. That was the worst TOH. I would rather get
punched in my face than to get my toes stomped on if they're infected off an ingrown toenail, like you said.
That was bad.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? I took it to the chin, I accepted it, and I moved on. You know what I mean? I wasn't just gonna sit around and be a victim to it. And it happens. You know what I mean?